Well, this is just a little drive out in a 1990 Peugeot 205 GLD. It's got the 1.8 litre XUD engine, non-turbo of course, and let's see. I think I may have just mounted the curb. Either that, I've just killed the cat, one of the two. Now this is a GLD and it's a pre-facelift one. They did facelift the 205 in 1990. So this is the pre-facelift one with the orange indicators and the original style rear tail lamps. So what I'm trying to say is this has no power steering, which it is a bit heavy when you're parking. Sorry for the shadow on my face, but some people might say that's a good thing. Yeah, it's a bit heavy when you're parking, but it's not as bad as you might think. It can just catch you out a bit sometimes, you know. But by and large, the payoff is we're doing 30 miles an hour now, and the steering is beautifully weighted. Now, apparently, if you've watched Hubnut's review as I have, the power steering does rob a little bit of feel, but I wouldn't know. I've got another 205, which is a 1.4 from 1987 that has the Duvran or X engine. It's the original engine with a gearbox in the sump. That doesn't have power steering either, but it's much lighter than this at parking speeds. But I've never driven a 205 with power steering. I mean, I've only driven these two, but I'd be quite interested to see what they're like. I know if you look on the Honest John website, it says not all diesels have power steering and they all need it, but I suppose I've just learned to cope with it, really. It doesn't really bother me anymore. And let's face it, you shouldn't really be turning the wheel when you're stationary anyway, although I do it. You know, I can't really complain about the steering being heavy. I mean, I learned to drive in a Mark III Astra with the horrible 1.4 high torque engine, that wheezy pad of crap. Sorry to be so blunt, but it really was a crap engine. And that had a way heavier steering than this, as far as I remember, but you know, I was 19, so I was probably a lot punier then. I remember just trying to turn the wheel and I was just, oh! Power steering on those things, definitely good, because they don't handle very well anyway, so it may as well have power steering. We're doing 40 miles an hour now and it's just bimbling along nicely. I've never checked the fuel economy, but by all accounts it's probably, when you're cruising, somewhere in the region of 50 mpg. The performance, it's alright. It can feel a bit slow off the line. But once you're on the move, you know, the performance feels okay. It's even okay on hills if you're in the right gear. It's not too bad. Sun's gone in. But you know, at this speed, I'm doing 40 miles an hour in 5th gear. You can't even tell it's a diesel. In fact, the major thing in these is just the ambient wind and road noise, mainly wind noise in these. But the wind noise in this particular example is made worse by the fact that window is held up with tape, the passenger window. We'll do a little motorway cruise. It won't really be a cruise, it'll be me accelerating and then coming off. So it's not really a cruise. But yeah, the performance is okay. The engines are obviously, it's clattery at idle, especially when it's cold. I love the sound of a cold, old school diesel engine. It really is my thing. Somebody in a Fiesta, whatever, overtaking us. Now people will look at this car and think, what a heap of crap, but that's what I think when I look at a modern car, to be honest. I know that's very, very judgmental of me, but it's not that I'm averse to modern cars, not at all. I mean, I get sort of toyed with the idea of getting a modern car just for work, really, so I'm not putting too many miles on this. this is actually my everyday transport at the minute. But sorry to keep saying the speed, but we're doing 55. We're on the slip road to go onto the A19. Anyone from the north, especially the northeast of England, will know the A19. It goes all the way from Morpeth to Doncaster, although there is a break around York where it doesn't exist, and then starts again south of York. But yeah, now we're just cruising along now. 60 is fine. The ride on the 205, especially the cooking models, the more lowly models, maybe the best feature. It's just so incredibly smooth. I mean, perhaps not Citroen Hydro pneumatic levels of comfort, but it's, you know, my dad had a BX when I was a kid, and it's probably not that far off, you know. As long as you keep all the bushes in good condition. The payoff is these have rather alarming. If you're used to driving a modern car, you'll think the body roll on these, especially in things like roundabouts, is completely alarming. But handling's not really just about body roll or lack of. It's more about feel and about grip. This certainly has plenty of both. I mean, the steering is just so accurate. Someone just pulled directly in front of me there, but it's okay. The steering, you know, like as I was saying, it's in the front end grip. It doesn't really understeer. You have to really provoke it to get it to understeer. You have to take a bend way too fast. But ironically, its reluctance to understeer is probably what makes it roll. It will roll before it understeers. I'm not really explaining myself very well. Sorry about that. As you may have realised, I am not a professional car reviewer. I'm doing 50, people think I'm curb crawling on a dual carriageway. Doing 50. I'm just getting up to 70 now. Yeah, it's getting a bit noisy in here, but you know, the engine's humming away nicely. It's absolutely fine. And one thing about these, the seats are so comfortable. They're probably the most comfortable car seats I've ever sat in. I'm 6'1", the driving position is absolutely perfect. I've got a good view of the instruments. Not the warning lights are obscured by the top of the steering wheel, but you know, put my head down, I can see them. Everything's good in these. The ventilation's good, the heater's good. Absolutely no standard equipment, not even central locking. It's got a heated rear window and a rear wash light. The heated rear window doesn't work. I don't know if it's just a fuse, to be honest. I haven't even looked at it because I'm incredibly lazy. But, you know, I've done several long journeys in this car and they've all been really quite nice. I've been up to northern Scotland and I did about 800 miles in 3 days and it was just fine. The only thing I've had wrong is the clutch cable snapping, and it was in the middle of nowhere. I mean, literally it was in the sticks. It was on the County Durham-Northumberland border. And I had to wait 7 hours to be rescued. I had no phone signal, so I had to run along a pitch black road for 2 miles, and then I found a phone box. Still couldn't get a signal in the village. Found a phone box. Somebody came out about 2 hours, 3 hours later, said, "Why did they send me out? This car needs to be recovered." They went away. Somebody came back about 4 hours later, so I phoned the AA about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and it was 20 to 11 before I got rescued, and then it was another hour back home, at least another hour. So I think it was after midnight when I got in, and I couldn't even contact my family or anything to tell them where I was because I just had no signal on my phone. That's what bothered me the most, is that I can't let anybody know, you know. But I got home in the end, you know, it was fine. And this has a good heater. I just left it to idle and just kept switching it off and then turning it back on. Back off, back on. Sorry, I'm babbling a lot to do. I do. I had a good night's sleep last night. Normally I don't get a good night's sleep, so when I do, I just babble. Normally I barely even speak because I'm so tired. But today's a good day for me, not for anybody else, unfortunately. But you know, for all these cars, it's flimsily built. I mean, they are. And I don't just mean by modern standards, I mean by the standards of the day, these are quite flimsily built. They have a very light construction. The plastics are cheap. They have this feeling of solidity and robustness, and it's hard to explain why they do. You just feel you could drive this to the ends of the earth, you know. This one has 107,000 miles on, which I think are genuine. Going by the MOT history, I barely had any paperwork with the car as regards to servicing and repairs, but, you know, if a car's lasted 32 years, somebody's been doing something right at some point. So, go back to the back way. This did have a fault where, if you've been driving hard, so you've been, what I've just been doing there, doing 60, 70 miles an hour, you dip the clutch when you approach a junction, and it was cutting out. Not all the time, but occasionally. Sometimes it would do it sort of 3 times off the belt and then not do it again for the rest of the journey, and then it would do it again the next time, or not. But seems to have stopped doing this. I'm going to blame it on supermarket diesel. There, that's very scientific. I'll just blame it on that, because it doesn't do it anymore. It's probably just a coincidence, but who knows? Because it was a weird fault, because otherwise the car drives spot on. And if you let it idle, if you just sat and let it idle, it would never ever cut out. It was only after you've been driving hard. We're in a town called Seaham now, a coastal town in County Durham. Well, we're coming into Seaham. That's Sunderland. That's Sunderland, what I've just left. So I'm about 6 miles away from home. It's actually quite nice, Seaham. It's a up and coming kind of coastal resort, and used to be a complete. It was horrible. It was rough. You know, a lot of these ex-mining. I live in an ex-mining village called Easington Colliery, and that's regarded as rough. A lot of these ex-mining villages in County Durham, especially east of Durham, Durham City, are regarded as rough. And it's probably, to be honest, probably not without justification. But Seaham has kind of turned around, so it's got lots of nice posh restaurants and bars, decent shopping centre, on the seafront as well. I must apologise for the angle, by the way. I did want to do one from the passenger side going across, so you could actually see some of the scenery around me, but I didn't have the right mount. It's in my other 205, the one I mentioned earlier, and that's in a garage on the other side of Durham, in a classic car garage. Getting fixed, I had a problem with the input shaft on the gearbox, and it's getting a new clutch. And I didn't think a garage that did modern cars would have a clue how to do it, so I sent it off there. It's like I said, it's an old-fashioned engine with a gearbox in the sump. So it shares the engine oil, which means it's got that lovely gear whine, lovely whiny gearbox. Not as bad as a bit like a muted Mini. But I tell you what, the noise was horrific when the input shaft the sheath for the input shaft wore away. The noise it was making was terrible. Sorry, I have no idea if anybody can even hear me. I'm just waffling. This is just stream of consciousness crap, you know. I know some people like driving videos without the waffle, but I didn't have the view. I couldn't show you. If I could get one from behind me, I would do one without the waffle. Instead, you've got to put up with my beautiful face. But yeah, around town, you can just poodle around. The performance isn't bad. It's like if you just go with the relaxed nature of this engine, it feels fine. But if you try to thrash it, you will think, God, this car is so slow. When you want to build up speed quickly, you can feel really slow. But if you just go with the torquey, relaxed, it's got a very even spread of torque as well. So, you know, it's nowhere near as torquey as a modern turbo diesel, but, you know, doesn't need to be. This car only weighs about 880 kilos. My petrol one is 100 kilos less, I think. Who would have known there was this much to say about a crappy old hatchback? Even I didn't know there was this one. I'm not even going. You're not even going right, David. You fool. Right. Sorry to my other fellow drivers. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this little drive out. I've certainly enjoyed it. And I feel this enormous pressure to say something, but nah, just forget about it. Well, what have I had done to this car since I've owned it? I bought it in June last year, 2021. I went all the way down to Somerset to buy it. I flew from I got the train from where I live to Newcastle, flew down to Bath, and then the next morning I went out to Minehead in Somerset, which I had to get 2 buses. Minehead's a gorgeous place, by the way. Somerset has such a nice feeling about it, especially in the summer. Oh, it was lovely. The bus dropped me off outside Bucklands, and then I walked about a mile to where the garage was. This guy, the guy I bought it from, did all camper vans for a living, and he was using this as his daily. And yeah, but you know, didn't need it. He didn't need it anymore. I think I may need some new wiper blades. And then I drove it back. I was going to do the journey in one go, coming back from Somerset all the way back to the northeast. But it had a terrible vibration when you got over 60 miles an hour. So I stopped on the outskirts of Birmingham. I just stayed in a hotel. Booked myself in a quick fit the next day, got the wheels balanced. And it made some difference, but there was still a huge wheel wobble. So I assumed the tyres were imbalanced or something. But I've had tyres swapped over and had new tyres on the back, so it's okay now. It's still got a slight vibration, but I actually found out when I went to get a new tyre, the tyre on the near side rear was 26 years old. It was from 1995. And he didn't use these exact words, but he said when he deflated it, it looked like a scrotum. So he didn't say anything like that, he just said it was cracked. I just made that biddle. I've had new pads on. I was going to put new discs, but I bought the wrong discs. I got vendor discs, and these are solid discs. But apparently there is a little bit of life left in the discs, so it's fine. Next time I change the pads, I'll put new discs on. It's had a new timing belt because the timing belt hadn't been changed since 2005. So obviously I was absolutely crapping me pants driving back from Somerset in case it snapped. That's about it really. Oh, I had a new catch on that door, on the passenger door, because it wouldn't open. That's not much has gone wrong. The clutch cable. It's been alright, you know. You can truly use this as an everyday car. I mean, I know not everybody would want to because it's got no mod cons. It's noisy inside, especially at speed, compared to a modern car. But the ride's so smooth and it's just so much fun. A tiny little car with a normally aspirated diesel engine in is fun. Really is. Back in my hometown now. Wow, we've done 14.5 miles on this journey. Thereabouts. It was on about 0.8 or something when we set out, so say 14 now. I noticed a lot of people look at this car like it's a Model T Ford or something, and you know, it's not that old. I think as little as 10 years ago, nobody would have batted an eyelid at a 205. My brother had one as his first car in about 2002, 2003. I think I did actually drive that, I can't remember. I hadn't passed my test then. I passed my test in 2004. All 3 series there. Oh, it's Stevie. I know that guy. It's got a 1997 3 Series. The E36 shape. I think he's had it since it was brand new. But yeah, people look at this car like it's an alien on the road. There's Jimmy. I'm not normally available at this time during the day, so when you see people you know walking about, it's like, oh, I haven't seen them for ages. It's when it's this time of the day. It's 20 past 12, by the way. In the afternoon, not night. I don't live near the North Pole, and it's not the summer, so I'm sure you realise that. Heavy steering. So you can sort of drive it like this, but if I'd have changed up a bit earlier, I don't think it would have accelerated any slower. Pardon me, I just burped a bit, sorry. This is a very long video. Longest video I've ever done by about 10 minutes, I think. Longest one before was the drive out of my petrol car. I bet someone just gave me the nod there for driving a 205. Or was it just because I let him out? I don't know. Or was it a bit of both? My God, I'm waffling today. Right. Tell you what really helps with the unassisted steering, I've got a steering cover on. Really helps the grip. Because when steering wheels get old and worn, they tend to get a bit shiny and slippy, and it's not ideal when you've got unassisted steering. The carpet fitters are here. That wasn't a euphemism for anything, by the way. The carpet fitters are at my dad's house. Right, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the drive. If you want me to do anything else related to this car, just let me know. I was going to kind of do a review, but that was kind of a review and a drive in one, maybe. But, I could do a more formal review if you like. I don't know, let me know. Let me know if you thought this video was complete crap, let me know. And I'll either delete it or edit it, or who knows. Just give me constructive feedback, Thank you very much. Over and out.